everybody. I'm back with another trailer review, and this time it's with the Equalizer 3 and with Denzel Washington. And I saw this trailer and I thought, oh yeah, I'll have to do a review on it because it's one hell of a good trailer and all. Pretty much shows you like half the film, but which is great. But anyway, it starts off with like Denzel sort of like sees his face just sat there, and you hear him say 9 seconds, and it starts cutting to where you see his watch, and he sets it to like 9 seconds. Then it goes to where it says witness, and then you see Denzel Washington's eye in a sort of shape that's in his reflection in his eye, which you find out later on what it is, but at the time it's just real fast and that. Then you see the final chapter, and then you see a dude getting took out by a van. Then a car bomb sort of gets exploded. Then you see where you don't know at first, but it is Denzel Washington's hand that's sort of juggling with a wine bottle, where then he just smashes it into some dude's face. Then it's like the Equalizer 3. Oh, trailer starts now. Well, you're thinking, all right, yeah. And then it goes off into a helicopter view of which you find out it's a little village in Italy somewhere. Apparently it's on, I think, the south coast of Italy. And you see like a car sort of pull up and that, where a dude sort of like is reloading and like cocking the barrel sort of thing. So he's got a pistol there, even though you can't see the pistol, but you hear it sort of getting cocked and that. And so, yeah, you know, it's a pistol there. Where then these two dudes, like one with a gun and one with a rifle, are sort of like walking through a room where you see one of his dead mates or someone anyway who's looking dead. Not quite sure who they are in that. I think it could be the mafia. Then you see, which I think is Denzel Washington speak, but you can't really tell, but it could be they were dudes, but I think it's Denzel's. And he's like walking sort of like calmly. Then you see these dudes again, where I think it's the same dudes, but it might not be, but they're sort of like walking around this house and seeing dead dudes, aftermath of like them being took out. And then like it's 9 seconds that you hear Denzel Washington says, and like then a wide shot sort of like starts appearing where you see Denzel sat on a chair with a gun pointed at his head. And then like Denzel says, like, that's what I'll give you, which it means like 9 seconds to decide your fate. So the dude sort of like laughing, that sort of thing, where he gets his watch and that. Then you see Sony and Columbia sort of Pictures, which is a Sony company. Then Escape Artists, which is like another film company. Then you see Denzel walking down the street. I think he says Kuala Bear or something. That's means hello, I think, and that, and says it to the people, or how you doing, or good evening, something like that. But he's being friendly and that. And then it goes to where this bed who's like looking like it's Denzel Washington, sort of like fancy bit. She sort of likes, because he's called Roberto, because Robert McCall is the name of the Equalizer, and so Roberto is Italian for Robert. That's how they pronounce Robert. But anyway, she's like, Roberto, what did you do back home? And like, then you see like scenes from number 1 and number 2 where he's just taking out people and that, and looking total badass, and that, where then it cuts back to Denzel, where he says like he used to do some government work but he's retired and that. Yeah. And then a bit of a dark scene, sort of like, and the lighting's pretty dark, but you see sort of Denzel sort of like sat in a chair by himself with his sort of wedding ring that in like number 1 and that, and I even think in the TV series with Edward Woodward, his wife died of cancer or something and that, and so he's like still mourning for her and that, and so he's like says like, I understand pain and death, sort of, because he's like still a bit gutted about his losing his wife and that. And then it sort of like cheers it up sort of thing, where you see Denzel sort of give his hat to this shopkeeper dude who sort of like is happy and that, and Denzel's like, yeah, you know, like have a nice day and that. Then you see some protesters, and I don't know exactly if they're protesting at the time, but they look like a sort of like peaceful protesters and that. And you hear sort of Denzel say, like, because of these people, and I'm beginning to understand real peace. So he's having a sort of like bonding with these sort of protesting people that he's sort of met there and that, and he seems to be finding them quite sort of like nice and that. And then you see him sat down at this coffee table where one of the protester dudes, I think, he introduces his new wife apparently is just got married, and I don't know if she's got a daughter, but anyway, the daughter in that gets introduced where Denzel sort of gives her a hug and that because he's like happy with the people and that, and he's trying to fit in. Where then it's like where I think they're having an outside cinema sort of projection sort of show where you hear Denzel say that I'm starting to believe, because I think he's getting his sort of spirit of humanity back, sort of thing, because he's 1 and 2. He's been a bit of a crazy man, but anyway. So then, like, you see the people sort of watching and that, where the woman says to him, "They see you as one of us now," so he's sort of bonding with the locals and that. Where Denzel says, and I think this is him thinking this, or he might say it, but it doesn't look like he says it in this scene. But anyway, he's like, "This is where I'm supposed to be," so he's found his paradise and that. And then it cuts to witness the final chapter. So I don't think there's going to be a Equalizer 4, which is a pity, but you never know, like with the Matrix. But hopefully if they do a number 4, it's not going to be like the Matrix 4. But so then you see like the car bomb explosion again, and it sort of like does a longer sort of scene of it, because you see it was near like a police sort of station sort of thing with cop cars and that, and there was civilians and all there, where you see some dead civilians, but one of them's still alive, luckily enough. Don't know how, but then you see an ambulance where a man says, and you see later on it's someone who is talking to Denzel Washington, but he says, "What happens here happens in many counts," which I think is because he's speaking like Italian English, but I think he's like saying it happens a lot. This is not a one-off occurrence. And then like you sort of see like family and that, where they're shooken up and some cars and that, and then you hear the dude says the mafia, where you see who's going to be the bad guys and that, where you see some mafia dudes and that, where they're looking pretty sort of like mafia-ish and that, you know, you don't want to be going around there sort of uninvited. And yeah, it sort of sees 2 mafia dudes on a boat and that. Yeah, you hear the man say they're like cancer, meaning the mafia and that. Where then you see this dude get knocked out by probably the mafia and that, because they sort of kidnap a kid and the woman and hold the kid at gunpoint, where obviously there's a bit of a traumatic experience for him and that. And then you see the dude sort of thing who was talking, and he's like, "There's no cure," as in for the mafia. And Denzel sort of like just looks and that. As in, well, let's see what I can do. And then it goes to, from the director, ANTOINE FUQUA. Don't know if I'm slaughtering that name, but anyway. Then you see like some cars pulling up in a driveway. Well, one car anyway. Oh, there was a pulled up, but you see a man who's with his wife and kid and at a table where another dude who's part of the mafia, because he starts acting like it, because he's like, who said you could come in here? So he's definitely not wanting the dude and his wife and kid in that restaurant sort of thing. Well, he sort of like gets up because he must have seen Denzel like watching him, because then he goes over to Denzel and like sort of, well, sits down, I think, but he cuts to this anyway, but and he says sort of like, you should stay out of other people's business. Yeah. Where Denzel doesn't act black and shouts out some expletives and questions his whereabouts of his mother or whatever, but says quite calmly, sort of like, whatever it is you and your friends do it somewhere else. Well, the dude, sort of mate, looks and that, you know, as in, what's this cheeky sod? And the mafia dude, he sort of like says, oh, you warning me? Are you, sort of thing. Well, then Denzel's like, no, I'm preparing you. Obviously preparing you for what's going to happen next, sort of thing. Well, the dude sort of laughs, as in he can't believe the cojones on this dude. And then Denzel sort of like asks the dude if he's wearing a Timex, where the dude says, no, it's a, and I think he's going to say a Casio or a Rolex or whatever. But by the time he gets his hand up, Denzel just grabs his hand and like twists his sort of like arm into a position where he could break it and that. And so the dude sort of like is a bit uncomfy in this sort of position, and he does a bit of a yell, where then you see Denzel's got his thumb pressed into the dude's sort of hand, where he's pressing on it, and he says like, this is sort of like a medium nerve I'm pushing, and sort of like, if I take it up to level 4, you'll shit yourself. And that, where then the dude sort of mate is a bit sort of like pissed off sort of thing, but he don't do out because he knows his mate or probably his boss in a situation. Well, anyway, after he tells him that he could shit himself, he just gets his sort of head and slams it off the sort of like wall and that, where then it cuts to where you see Denzel sort of like walking in a room where he grabs a sort of fire poker sort of thing, or it could be the little shovel. I don't know, but it's definitely an iron rod. So then it says this for, and then you see some dude who's in a room, and you think he's by himself, but you notice there's a dude behind him, where then the dude just rather strangles him or stabs him in the back of it. But anyway, looks like he's definitely killing him anyway. He's not going to be surviving that. And then you see Denzel sort of like get up, as in like if he can sense that, but it might be another part of the film where. But anyway, they've edited it together where that's the sort of feeling they're trying to get. And then like there's fireworks and that, and you see this dude who's, I think he's the main mafia dude. I think he's the main boss, because he sort of like wants a conversation where he says to Denzel, "You seem like a man who understands violence," and that, and so you see Denzel looking as in, "Oh yeah, I think you've got an idea of who I am." Then you see the clip of Denzel sort of like juggling with a bottle of wine, and you see sort of like walking sort of down the street, where he comes up to a dude and just smashes him in the face with it. And it's a bit of a longer scene, because then someone tries to stab him with a knife, where this angle you can't really see it's a knife, but then you see the dude sort of like tussling a bit, where Denzel's got the knife. Then he like stabs the dude, and you can tell by the track, so it's the dude who he slammed the head in the restaurant and that, where bangs it right into his chest. Yeah, he's dead. Then you see vengeance, and then Denzel, he's sort of like walking, and he's like, "I like this place." So yeah, he's definitely liking that place. And then you see this sort of wife and kid, where they look like they're sort of in a bit of distress, and that, where you sat around waiting for something. Then you see Denzel near a Jeep, looks like someone's garage or whatever, or could be outside, don't know. But he says, "You can't take that from me," saying like he likes this place, sort of thing. Then you see a plug getting unplugged by what I think it is Denzel Washington, because the lights go out when these dudes are playing some poker and that. And then Denzel just starts shooting in, like, taking them out, where the proper getting headshot in that bit, like John Wick sort of thing. And then with the vengeance, so because there was real quick, so it says meets his equal, as in the Equalizer. Then you see the mafia boss, which I think this confirms it, because he's like, I can take anything I want. So he's probably the mafia boss, because if he was a lackey around, he wouldn't be claiming he could take anything he wanted. Then you see some dude's hand getting put onto a table, where a dude pulls out a knife and then just slams it into his hand, because you don't see it, but you see these sort of like dude's face screaming with another dude holding him, sort of like who's holding his hand there. And yeah, unless the other dude's doing some, yeah, it's probably because he's got his hand stabbed. Where then you see some what I think could be like armed, like police squad, like special units, or as it could be the mafia, but I think it could, or as it could be armed special units under the control of mafia. But anyway, you see them kick in a door sort of thing, where they're looking like the securing the sort of area, where it says Denzel Washington. You see like Denzel and that, where you see some cars driving. Then you see that dude getting crushed by the van, where some fireworks are going off, where you see some like religious sort of statue. I think it could be Jesus or Mother Mary, one of the two, you know. Where you see like I think it's a crowd box just shooting erratically, like with a machine gun. And then you see Denzel sort of getting patched up by what could be a doctor, or it could be a vet, because sometimes the vets are doctors. But anyway, you see Denzel sort of like unconscious anyway, getting like treated for some wound. Then you see some woman who's looking concerned, but that could be another part of the film, because I'm sure she's not watching him getting stitched up. But anyway, and then you see this bad reporter saying to Denzel like that the police found multiple dead bodies in that farm in Calgary, oh, Sicily. Sorry, not Calgary, Sicily. And she says, like, did you kill them? Sort of thing. Where then it shows you, like, what happened, because it sort of, like, goes back to that scene where it widens out to where the gun is pointed at him and that. And obviously it's like that 9 seconds sort of thing, where he gives them like 9 seconds to decide their fate. But their fate, which you see coming up, is not to take the advice of Denzel. And then so Denzel just grabs the gun from this dude, sort of like squeezes his arm sort of thing down and that, so he's not pointing it at his head and that. And then he's like grabs his sort of wrist, so he fires a shot off, which I think kills someone and that. And then you see what you saw at the beginning with the reflection in his eye, where you sort of tell now that it's a dude sort of running up to him, where he shoots him with that dude's gun sort of thing. And then it hits him in his leg, proper takes his kneecap out, and he's down sort of thing. And then like he twists the gun out of the dude's hand, like nearly snaps it. Like the dude's proper in pain. He's like, oh, that hurt. Where then he's pointing the gun at the dude, where you think he's gonna shoot his sort of brains out, but then he comes up and you think, oh no, he's gonna punch him in his face. But no, he elbows the sort of, or forearms elbows the gun into the dude's eye, where the barrel goes into his eye, and then to make sure it's in, Denzel just pushes it further in, so he's like, yeah, that's in. Where the dude at this stage is in severe pain and that, and he's a bit confused because he wasn't expecting it to go down like this. Where then like Denzel sort of like gets him in the sort of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pull the trigger now, but he pauses, and then it cuts to where you see Denzel with the reporter bed, and he like, oh yeah, do I look like a killer? Where obviously looks can be deceiving, but he ain't gonna tell her that. And then she sort of like looks sort of thing as to say, maybe, I don't know. And then Denzel sort of like just laughs. Then you see E3. And it sort of like expands out to the Equalizer 3. Where you see his watch again with the 9 seconds, but it goes zooming in to the watch, where it gets real close, and then it pans out to 9th. Oh, no. It's American thing here. It's the 1st of the 9th, 23, even though that's the English way. It's 1st of September anyway. And it's out in the UK and all on the 1st of September 2023. And yeah, the like synopsis sort of thing says like what I just said. Robert McCall sort of like is taking on the mafia. So yeah, I'll be definitely gonna go see it. Hopefully, as soon as it comes out, hopefully it's gonna be one of them midnight showings. But yep, definitely gonna be go see the Equalizer 3 installment. So, thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye.